Greetings and salutations. In today's video, we're going to be discussing compound interest. Now, I did a video initially about compound interest. It's more of an introduction. If you haven't checked it out, do so now. So this question is asking us, if the final amount invested at 5% over the course of 6 years is €10,988 and 78 cents, what is the sum invested? Okay, so let's list out the things that we are already told. So the final amount is 10,000. Final amount is 10,988.78 cents. Then we are told that the interest rate is 5%. Now remember, interest rate within this formula has to always be in decimal form. So in decimal form, that has to be 0.05, okay? Then we are told that the time taken for this is 6 years, okay? So F is 10,988.78. Now, the principal we do not know. We do not know the original amount invested into this. So, P will just stay as an unknown. Then, we're going to bracket 1. We're going to leave it as it is. Plus I. I is 5%, remembering that we have to put it into decimal form. So, it is 0.05, and the amount of time taken is 6. So, we're going to raise that to the power of 6. Now, this is what we're dealing with. We have to find the value of P, but before we bring this over or do whatnot, we have to solve what is within the bracket. So 10,988.78 is equal to P. We're going to solve within the bracket 1.05, and then we're going to raise it to the power of 6. 10,988.78 is equal to P. Now, I could do this. I could do 1.05 to the power of 6, but that would end up being 1.340095641. And after I put that in brackets, I'm going to have to bring that over and divide it, and I have to keep on rewriting it. So instead of doing all of that, which no one is really bothered to do, I can just leave it as bracket. I can divide this over. Bracket 1.05 to the power of 6. Now, once you put that in, you should get 1,199.996826. Lovely, love that. So, also, just to mention, remember, if you are bringing this down, keep it in brackets because we are raising this to the power of 6, okay? If you were just to put 1.05, 6 without the brackets, you would just be raising 5 to the power of 6. But since you're putting in a bracket, you are putting the whole decimal, well, you're putting the whole digit into, well, you're raising it to the power of 6, okay? So this is what you get after you divide this, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, we are dealing with money, so we cannot have a recurring decimal. We have to round this up to 2 decimal places. So 8,199.99. Okay, we look at the next. It is a 6, so we have to raise this up. But if we're raising this up, we have to raise the whole thing up. So it's 8,199. We have to raise this up to 8,200, and that is what the principal is. This is the actual, it's the first amount of money that this person is investing into it. And after the course of 6 years, it has, at 5%, it has raised to the price of €10,988.78. Now we have a quite easy question. Let's put down our formula. F is equal to P1 plus I raised to the power of T. Find the compound interest earned on 1,200 for 3 years at 4%. So our principal is 1,200. Our time taken is 3 years. Our interest rate is 4%, which would be 0.04. So our final amount, we do not know. We have to figure out our final amount. Is equal to, our principal is 1,200, bracket 1, plus what is our interest rate? It is 0.04, raised to the power of 3 because it took 3 years. Now we're going to solve what's within the bracket. So it is 1.04 raised to the power of 3. In this case, you do actually have to raise to the power of 3 and then multiply. Very sad, but 1,200. Bracket, it is 1.124864. So then once you multiply that out, you should get 1,349.848 3 actually. 8368. And now obviously since we're dealing with money, we have to round it up to the nearest second decimal place. So it is F is equal to 1,349.8. We look, the number 6, is it higher than 5? Yes, it is. Well, yeah. And so the 3 has changed to a 4. And this is the amount that is interested in 3 years at 4%. For our next question, we are asked, 1,500 was invested for 2 years at compound interest. The rate for the first year was 3%, and the rate for the second year was 4%. Find the final amount at the end of the 2 years. Now, the formula doesn't really work with these type of questions, but we can still try and make this work. So, we are dealing with 2 years here. For the first year, we can write down the formula. F is equal to P1 plus I raised to the power of T. So our F, the final amount, is unknown. We don't know. P, the principal, though, is 1,500. This is the amount that the person originally invests, okay? And then afterwards, we are told in the first year, now this is the first year, we'll just focus on the first year, the interest rate is 3%. Now remember, with percentages, it always has to be in a decimal form, so 0.03. Now find the final amount at the end of 2 years. So this is the first year, right? We'll add in everything we know. F we don't know, so we'll just leave it as it is. It's equal to the principal, which is 1,500. Now 1 plus I, so 1 plus 0.03, and now raised to the power of T. Now, instead of doing 2, we are going to do 1 because we're focusing on year 1. And then in year 2, we'll do 1 again because, well, 1 plus 1 is 2, so 2 years. So do not put the year 2 because this is the year 1, okay? Now we're going to add into the bracket. We're going to deal with the bracket firstly. So F is equal to 1,500 and then 1.03 raised to the power of 1. Same thing, you don't really need to add it in. So then we have to multiply. So 1,500 multiplied by 1.03 is equal to 1,545. This is your final amount. But then they say in the second year, okay, in year 2, we are told that the interest rate is 4%, so that's 0.04, and we are told it's for 2 years, so the time taken is 1, okay? But then, is this the principal or the final amount? Actually, it is the principal. So this now, if you were to move on to this second year, would be the principal because this isn't the final amount because we haven't added on the, well, interest of 4%. So F is equal to 1,545, so this is your new principal. This is the new thing you're beginning with. You do not continue on with 1,500 because that was the principal of year 1. In year 2, it is something different because remember, if you watch the first video that I set up, you would know what I'm talking about because we bring down the amount, the final amount of what we get from year 1 to year 2. If you watched my first video, you would know. So the F is equal to 1,545, and then we have to well, add 1 plus what is our rate of interest is 0.04, okay? Raised to the power of 1 again because we are dealing with year 2. We've already done year 1. We have to deal with year 2 because 1 plus 1 equals 2, all right? So you multiply this out, you should get F is equal to 1,606.80, and this is your answer. And that is that. Thank you for watching.